Story 1. I don't want to because my mental health issues would be a burden. Story 2. I have no desire to have children. I never had children for that reason. It's funny how people around the world cannot quite wrap their heads around it. I do not want to get married, and I do not believe in God. Story 3. I have significant intimacy issues. I can barely handle dating, let alone think about marriage. Story 4. I am waiting for someone who makes me say, yeah, I would share fries with you forever. Story 5. I really wanted to marry my ex and build our lives together when I was 30. He would not marry me, so we built our lives separately. In my 40s, I received a large promotion at work, lost weight, got fit, and renovated my house. Suddenly, he wanted to put a ring on it. No, thank you. You had your chance. Story 6. It becomes a bit meaningless after the first time. There are legal advantages to consider, but that is about it. Story 7. After a failed 16-year marriage, I am fine. I have had a few girlfriends over the last decade, but I prefer being alone. I am not opposed to remarriage. If the right woman came along, I would commit. Story 8. Not ready financially, emotionally, spiritually, and in other ways. Story 9. I don't know who I am. What if I'm locked in with someone and I grow out of the person they fell in love with? Story 10. It is very risky these days. In this social media era, healthy long-term relationships are rare and trust issues are very high. So I have opened every door to freedom. Story 11. There is no appeal to getting married. It is expensive, stressful, full of drama, and an outdated social construct that treats women like property. Common law marriage is just as good, so I do not feel any need to justify or prove my relationship by undergoing that process. Story 12. Marriage is an archaic religious ceremony whereby a woman becomes a man's property. No thanks. It is none of the government's business who I love. People can stay together forever without signing a contract. Story 13. I still haven't found someone to put up with my bullshit yet. Story 14. Have you seen how awful people are these days? I am not inviting that into my life. Story 15. My current wife would be very upset and confused. Story 16. I am not a fan of giving away half of everything I earn to someone who tolerates me only for my possessions. Story 17. I have not met someone yet. I deeply dislike tradition. I hate gender traditions even more. Story 18. I have decided to live and die alone. There is not much I look forward to in this life. People underestimate me because of the way I look. I have had to prove myself every time while someone with better genetics gets away without proving anything. Story 19. I'm scared of committing to one person. My wants and needs change constantly. Story 20. We are not financially there yet. We hope to get engaged within the next year, though. Story 21. None of the people I would consider marrying are interested in me. I have given up looking permanently. Story 22. I do not trust anything that bleeds for a week and does not die. Story 23. I value my quiet nights and spontaneous plans too much right now. Story 24. I will not repeat that mistake. She treated me like a walking wallet. I am more than just my bank account. Story 25. You have to date people to marry one. I am not dating right now. Although I am attractive and can find dates, I cannot go back to the dating applications, and meeting someone in real life is not easy. I deeply believe the universe will send me what I need at the right time. I am not meant to be alone forever, but I am also not meant to bounce between Tinder dates and Hinge dates, or be pleasant with men who are not looking for a partner. I want depth, connection, and love that develops organically, along with mutual adoration, understanding, and trust. In 2 years of using dating applications, I found most of that once. It did not work out for unrelated reasons, but if it exists once, it can exist again. I will wait. Story 26. No woman wants to go on a date with me, let alone marry me. Story 27. It would be a waste of money. Everyone would be staring at their phones the whole time. Story 28. Marriage is a social construct about a mating pair. I have no desire to be in a mating pair. Story 29. I already did. It was never a long-term financially viable plan, which was my mistake. I thought with my heart, not my head. I should not have married before we were both financially and mentally ready. Still eats me up. My ex-wife and children now feel like a monthly bill I have to pay. They're great people. I feel sorry for younger Australian men in their 20s. A potential long-term partner needs to be a good earner with a six-figure income. That's hard to come by. None of my now adult daughters earn that kind of money. Story 30. I do not know. I am 39. I am tall, mostly successful, healthy, and fit. I have no debt and excellent credit. I have a dog, motorcycles, snowmobiles, and a truck. Life is solid. Story 31. Almost all the men I have dated have mental health issues or are emotionally immature. Story 32. We have been together for 17 years and have 2 children. I do not know why I would do it. We are recognized as domestic partners, and I am able to have him on my health insurance. That is the main point for us. Story 33. I don't see any benefit to getting married. I'd rather risk becoming homeless after a divorce. Story 34. There is nearly a 50-50 chance it will not work out, and I am an atheist who does not see the spiritual significance a piece of paper is meant to have over me. Story 35. I have tried my best, but my wife is very insistent on a one-wife-per-husband rule that I am pretty sure she made up. Story 36. I dislike the concept of marriage. You go through difficulties and stick together, then marry and feel that now it has to work because we are married. That pressure is exactly what makes it fail. Story 37. I do not care, and even if I did, it would not happen anyway. Story 38. I just haven't found the right person yet, or maybe I'm not in the right place for it. Story 39. This is all you need. Story 40. I'm tired of making that mistake. I'm a terrible judge of character. Story 41. I wanted it badly. I thought I had found the love of my life. I don't know if I believe in marriage anymore. Story 42. Every time someone says, for better or worse, my fight or flight response activates and I sprint into the ocean. Story 43. I never met someone I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. Story 44. This makes getting married sound as easy as going to McDonald's. Story 45. Because of my luck, the men I meet are emotionally constipated. Story 46. Relationships offer too much risk and have too little benefit. Story 47. Maybe I will think about it after a little while, around 11 decades. Story 48. I need a girlfriend or fiancé first. Mentally, I need to be financially secure before I can find a partner. Story 49. High risk, low reward. Brutal consequences for men. It's just a rigged game all around. Story 50. Homeless and unemployed people are only at the top of the dating pool when they are skimmed off and discarded like a condom floating in a hot tub. Story 51. My girlfriend lives on the other side of the world. She has kidney disease and is waiting for a transplant, but it is complicated. Story 52. Why don't I get married? Because I am a woman. I am either a miserable wife, a Mormon wife, a cat lady, or even a cow. I don't know. Story 53. I would rather have the freedom to live my life as I choose. I am also too immature and overly sensitive about stupid things people do. Story 54. I have done that twice already and learned it is just not for me. Story 55. I already did that once and earned the merit badge. The same goes for the divorce. I can focus on other things now. Story 56. I went once. It wasn't worth it. It would take a very special, open woman to get me to do it again. There is a slim chance of that happening. Story 57. I have married once. He was emotionally abusive, misogynistic, misanthropic, and chauvinistic. He had a year-and-a-half-long affair with a coworker and then blamed everything on me. I will never marry again. Story 58. I did it. It was not something I wanted to do anyway. If I do it again, I need both feet firmly planted in the relationship, and I need to feel that my partner and I are backing each other up as a team. I am not sure I have fully had that. Story 59. I do not feel the need or see any net benefit, so I cannot be bothered. Story 60. I am disabled, and if I get married, my disability benefits will be taken away. Story 61. It's bold of you to assume someone could tolerate me long enough for that. Story 62. I have been with my significant other for 9 years and love them endlessly. We could go to the courthouse, but my significant other wants a real ceremony and I support that dream. We cannot afford a wedding right now, and we are not taking on debt for it. We only want a 40 to 50 person event, but in this economy it is not possible. It will not change how much we love each other, so we can wait. The same reason applies to not having children. Story 63. I always choose the wrong women, and it quickly becomes a nightmare, so I am not doing that again. Story 64. I was married once. I hated it. At this point, I am just happy to be with my partner. Story 65. I haven't met someone like that. I'm waiting for a miracle, bro. Story 66. It is overrated. I enjoy being single and do not need anyone to do housework or share my monthly expenses. These days, in marriage, men are in love and women are in business. I have assets I need to protect, assets I acquired with my hard work, and I am not willing to give 50% of them to anyone. I am not interested in fatherhood. I love living on my own terms, without explanations, drama, or telenovelas. Story 67. I am a minor. I dislike socializing and am not good at talking to girls. Story 68. I lost my wife of 42 years recently. 5 days later, my 40-year-old son passed away. Not ready. Story 69. Because I have not met someone who makes marriage feel like the right next step. Story 70. I am only 22, and I started my first and current relationship less than a year ago. Story 71. If you love each other enough, you do not need a piece of paper to say so. Story 72. I do not know where you are from, but in India there is the Hindu Marriage Act, which is very unfavorable to Hindus. The act provides protection only for women, not men. Women can lie and still receive alimony. They do not even have to provide proof. Only men face trouble because of these lies. Also, you cannot trust Indian women nowadays. Story 73. I might die, and the love of my life left me before we knew something was wrong with me. Story 74. I was married for 30 years until I lost my husband. I have no interest in marrying again. Story 75. Looking at the state of many marriages today, I would say the downsides massively outweigh the benefits. Story 76. I tried it. It didn't work out and once was enough. I value my freedom and peace now. Story 77. As someone who has been married for 10 years, I do not think it is worth it. The only two benefits are taxes and healthcare coverage, but I have never won anyone over by talking about how much we would benefit tax-wise. Story 78. I prefer to be alone. If I were in a relationship, I would see no reason to involve the government. Story 79. Still waiting on my husband to come around to the idea of his wife having a wife. It's a work in progress. Story 80. I am not meant to be the wife of anyone and I am okay with that. Story 81. Marriage is the leading cause of divorce. Don't you know? Story 82. I like my freedom. I do what I want when I want and buy what I want. It would be nice to have a companion, not sexual, just platonic. Story 83. I have been there. I am in the middle of a divorce now. Even though it is amicable and there is no contention, it highlights that the legal status of marriage provides no benefit during the marriage. If the marriage ends, the legal aspects can be the most stressful and complex thing to navigate. You realize quickly that the only thing getting married did was make it inexplicably harder to leave and move on with your life if the marriage does not last. I will enter a long-term relationship, hopefully one that lasts the rest of my life, but I will not get married. Story 84. Just talking to myself. Sorry for the long comment, and bless the unfortunate souls who read this. It is weird how cynical people in this thread are, but I can see where they are coming from. I have thought about marriage and how I think of it. Here are my thoughts and the arguments I made to myself. Getting married sounds wonderful. It would mean you found someone you love enough to sign a contract to spend your entire life with them. But you do not really need to do all of that to spend your life with a loved one, right? What advantage would marriage bring? Maybe if married, partners would be less willing to separate over issues and would try to fix their relationship. But would that still not be possible without marriage? It can sound like a manipulation tactic to bind your relationship to a legally enforceable document. Perhaps it can help women who are economically disadvantaged when a divorce occurs. That may be true, but these days I think women are becoming more independent and knowledgeable enough to avoid marrying if they cannot yet fully support themselves. Still, I think marriage today is more like a tradition than a necessary procedure. I still romanticize being married, to be honest. There are also people who say they just cannot commit to one person and need change every now and then. I disagree with them. I understand the perspective of letting people do what they want because we have no right to tell them what to do, but my opinion is heavily influenced by someone I loved who could not settle on one person and who hurt me. I cannot bring myself to agree with them anymore. Everyone in the thread is being pragmatic and looking at the situation in black and white. The risks outweigh the benefits, and logically people would rather not go through that. It is very conflicting for me. I understand where they are coming from, and the conservative values instilled in me as a child make it hard to fully accept their logic. Then again, I have no plans to have children, so I do not have much ground to stand on regarding marriage. In the end, this really boils down to my own personal feelings, and there is no point getting upset at other people's opinions about marriage. In summary, this thread is depressing but also understandable. I wish to get married, but at the same time the arguments presented are enough to deter me from marriage. Story 85. I am too focused on my professional career to give my partner the time needed for a healthy relationship. Story 86. I've accepted that a better half may never come along and I've made peace with it. I've learned to cook and live independently and I'm ready to walk my own path as a bachelor. Story 87. Laughs as a single man. Because there are no partners. Sighs as a single man. Story 88. I have been single long enough that it is unlikely I will find someone worth sacrificing what I have. I also have trust issues that I need to work on. Story 89. The only person I could have ever wanted to marry lost interest in me. Story 90. I am pretty sure I need someone to show up for a date first. Story 91. I am facing choices, and I am not yet financially or emotionally stable. Story 92. Legally, I avoid it because divorce is too nasty. The only real legal benefit is tax-related. Letting the government dictate how you handle a split is nonsense, and having lawyers bleed you dry. Outside the legal system, I am married. We had a ceremony of commitment, set up joint investment accounts, and created contracts that represent growth from day one. Income imbalances are taken into account for expenses, budgeting, and personal savings plans, and are accommodated. Normalized non-government marriages. The legal basis of marriage was historically the exchange of daughters as property. Story 93. I want to, but I have not made any efforts to find one yet. Story 94. I was married, but things changed for the worse. We were together 10 years and married for 2, but once responsibility was involved, they ceased to take it and put it all on me. Will I get married again? I cannot see the future, but I will not seek marriage or a relationship again. Others will have to find me and seek my love. I have given too much of myself in relationships, and I refuse to hurt myself like that anymore. I am finally healed and have grown more used to my solitude. It will take work for me to open my heart again after so much betrayal and abandonment. Story 95. A piece of paper is not going to change anything. We have been together almost 18 years, and it is not something we are interested in doing. Story 96. I have been there and done that. I will be paying for it for the rest of my life. Story 97. I'm nearly 18, but my mother would look down on me because she married a week after turning 18 and divorced him 2 years later. Story 98. I'm enjoying my single life too much, and I feel I have something else to accomplish before getting married. Story 99. Because we are not of the same religion, I do not believe in asking my elected official for permission. Story 100. I do not want a relationship. I was married for 17 years. I am now divorced, and I feel great. I am not going to tie myself to a man like that ever again. Story 101. I was about to, but then my identical twin died, and depression hit me like a Mack truck. My fiancé wasn't about that and called it off. Story 102. Because I have not bought a house yet, as soon as I do, I am also getting married, laughing out loud. Story 103. I, like many women, was raised to be a nurturer. I was 35 before I went to a movie or restaurant by my own choice, took a nap when I wanted, or did whatever I wanted. I remarried thinking I could maintain that independence, but I always slipped back into feeling guilty when I was selfish. I never want to go back. Story 104. If somebody gave you a gun, told you to put it to your head and pull the trigger, but reassured you there was only a 50% chance of it going off, would you do it? Half of all marriages end in divorce, and 90% of those are initiated by women. I'm fine keeping everything I have. I have never met anyone I would be willing to risk my life and my sanity for. Now, at almost 40, I know all the good ones are taken. So I suppose I will remain single for life. Story 105. I can barely commit to a Netflix show. You want me to commit to a whole human? Story 106. It's hard to get married when you don't have a partner. Or when you have a partner but you've never been on a date with them. Story 107. Because I am still young and do not have enough money to take care of myself to begin with. Story 108. I've been there and done that. If you need a ring to prove I care, you don't know me. Story 109. That is like asking why I do not go barreling over Niagara Falls. It might be exhilarating at first, but once you take the plunge there is a very small chance you will make it out alive. Story 110. I have been there and done that. A dating or committed relationship is sufficient. Until death do us part harkens back to a time when most people did not live past childhood, let alone 40. They married very young and began procreating. Someone had to survive to tend the farm. Story 111. I am aromantic and asexual. I am not interested in romance or sexual relationships. Being a cat slave is far more fulfilling for me than marriage. Not going to lie. Story 112. You are not my real mom. Mind your own business. Story 113. Less time with your children. Lose a portion of your assets. Paying child support. Damage to your reputation. Mental stress. Depression. Lawyers are expensive. Story 114. I cannot find a girl who cares about what I want to say. Story 115. Because my fiancé lives in England and we are trying to save up for everything. Story 116. I like my life the way it is. I would rather wait for something that actually feels right than force myself into a ceremony just to check a box. Half the people I know rushed it and are now quietly miserable. I am fine taking my time. Story 117. I enjoy autonomy, especially this time of year. I do not have to deal with my in-laws. Story 118. I have been there and done that. I never should have married. If no-fault divorce is legal yet unfair, then there is no point to marriage. I lost a fortune so my ex-wife did not have to be a mother and could travel the world. Story 119. I was married once. It fell apart because he could not be open and honest with me or with himself, and I am not sure my heart can take trying again. Story 120. I do not want children, so finding a partner is not a pressing priority compared with focusing on my career and finishing my condominium renovation. Story 121. 2 reasons. I have not been in a relationship since last year, and I legally cannot be in one until next year. Story 122. It has only been 4 months. Good gravy, give me a minute. Story 123. I want to. My parents have an amazing marriage. I'm with a guy I really love, but we're not there yet. Story 124. Never again. There are too many protections and favors for women, and none for men. Story 125. I do not think someone who would marry me has their priorities in order. Story 126. I understand why people feel that way. I was fortunate that my supportive parents contributed $3,000 in total to our wedding. That was still low cost. Weddings are ridiculously expensive. People prioritize paying rent over buying a dress that costs about $1,000 or more. Having a dream wedding is not as feasible as people think. Story 127. I have never met anybody who was interested in me that way. It is not that I do not get approached. People only approach me when they want one-night stands. No one loves or even likes me. They just lust after me, and that is probably my fault. Story 128. I am afraid of men and have not found one I feel safe enough with. Story 129. I have been in 2 serious relationships. Both lasted more than 2 years, and one lasted nearly 4 years. Not getting married is never the reason a relationship implodes. If it is, that person is not the one. People are often too quick to marry because they feel they need to start a family immediately, but a couple of years is not long enough to fully know a person. Story 131. I have not met the right person. 2. I do not have a job that provides enough income to support 2 people right now. 3. I do not feel I am emotionally mature enough to have a boyfriend. Story 131. It is too expensive, and we are currently building our house. We cannot afford the wedding my fiancée wants right now. It is not that important to me, but because she wants it so much, I want her to have it. It is only delayed a bit. Story 132. Again, my ex-husband tried to take half the equity in my home when I told him to leave. Be careful out there, people. Story 133. I am divorced and have been in my current relationship for around 6 years. I do not see the point in getting married. We do not share assets and will not have children together. Story 134. I've been there and done that. I do not have the attention span to stop myself from repeating the small, stupid mistakes I make, but when it comes to the big ones, I'm fine. Story 135. Unless you are planning on raising children or it is a financial upgrade and you love the person, I would not get married. Story 136. Because the government should not be involved in my love life. Story 137. Emma Watson is not interested. My wife will not let me. Story 138. I do not think I would do well in prison because of the inevitable murder. Story 139. From the perspectives of family law, mathematics, and probability, marriage presents a substantial potential downside and, at best, limited upside. Story 140. She tried that before. She groomed me into giving myself up so she could have the best life. Eventually, she wasn't happy and left with a fitness instructor she met on Instagram. I don't want to risk losing what I worked so hard to get. It's not about materialism, but about the house I built from scratch with elbow grease and the money I've been saving for over a decade. I couldn't do all that again in this economy, so that's too great a risk for me. Story 141. Never get married. It isn't worth it and is a source of stress, both financially and psychologically. Story 142. I dreamed about it and wanted it more than 20 years ago. My life is over and my bloodline will end. If you are feeling like this, please seek help now. Call your local emergency number or crisis line in the U. Dial 988. Story 143. I got married and we were happy until death parted us. I now want to develop myself as an individual. While I was married, I stopped cultivating my tastes and hobbies. I now have the opportunity to learn and try all the things I did not do while enjoying the love of a partner. Story 144. If I did it, I would mess with his mind to feel safe, but I do not want to hurt anyone, so no thanks. I am staying single. Story 145. Because we have only been together 3 months, we said we are dating to get married, and I will absolutely marry him. Story 146. I did, and then I got divorced after 1 year. It was not anything serious. We simply realized we did not have the same goals, and I am thankful we recognized that earlier rather than 10 years down the road. I hope her life goes well. It is not that I do not want to marry again, but I think I would need to be sure my future partner wants the same things. My ex-wife thought we did, but it turned out it took her a year to realize she did not. Story 147. I love money the most, and it always makes me happy. I am not a man. Story 148. I am separating now after 14 years. I'm not saying don't get married. I had good times and bad, and that's to be expected. Marriage isn't one big honeymoon. That's for sure. What I will say is make sure you are both on the same page about raising children, finances, and general values. It will make a big difference. I thought we were, but things changed over time. Story 149. It's extremely expensive to get married as a man, and even more expensive to get divorced. I would like to live in a house when I am old and retired, and not be on the streets begging for money so I can eat and shower. Story 150. It is hard enough to find someone dumb enough to have sex with me, let alone to spend enough time with me to want to marry me. Story 151. Dating just feels non-existent anymore. I am 31 years old, recently out of a long-term relationship and already in another. If this does not work out, I think I will stop dating entirely. I have been preparing myself to be okay with being single for the rest of my life. We are not married because he probably does not want to be, and honestly I do not want to be married again. Story 152. I am 34. I have become used to being alone. I do not want responsibilities I may not be able to manage at the moment. I do not want children, so if I find a partner, she must be on the same page. Story 153. You tend to need a partner for that unless you are willing to pull a Sue Sylvester. Story 154. We have been partners for 10 years. Both of our mothers were married 4 times. For them, marriage was a contract in transactional relationships. This upbringing made us strive for independence, which we both take pride in. She is my life partner, best friend, and soulmate. I would not change anything for the world. Story 155. There was an episode of South Park where Cartman's mom got him a nanny. Cartman asked the nanny, "If you like kids so much, why don't you have your own?" She said, "It simply didn't happen. I didn't understand it then, but I understand it now. Now I know what she meant by it simply didn't happen. Life throws you wheels sometimes, wheels with fire, and you just have to catch whichever it throws at you. My will didn't have marriage on it. I was occupied with other things that were hard enough, so I didn't get the chance to relax and have a relationship." Story 156. I do not want to deal with divorce. My parents showed me what it means to love the wrong people, and I do not want to bind myself legally and financially to someone else. I believe in love, but it can fail or may not be enough, and I want to be able to walk away freely if it does. Story 157. I think it's because my boyfriend's family will insist on a big wedding. There would be all his family, and all I have is a few friends, maybe 14 or 15 people, 20 if my American friends show. There will not be bridesmaids because I am not close enough to any women to ask that. I have friends who are women, but when I see women getting married, they always seem so close to those other women, and I do not have that. I was close to a few women before I had to leave for a year and a half, but those friendships feel different now. All my old friendships do. I just feel sad when I think about it. It is supposed to be a family event, and I do not have family to invite. They would not want my family there either. My mom would hate my boyfriend's family because they are Chinese, and she would be angry all day. We are not in contact. There is no one to walk me down the aisle, no one to help pay for it. I know my boyfriend wants to get married, and I am not opposed to it, but I cannot do the wedding. His family does not know I am completely alone. I have always been alone, even when I was with my relatives, and it should stay that way. How am I supposed to be happy on a day when I look around and see how alone I am? A visual reminder that none of my relatives ever wanted or cared about me. Getting married will not change anything with his family either. I am already part of it as much as I will ever be. Mostly just on the outside looking in, and I am content with that. They are a good family, and I am learning a lot. They are so good to the kids and to each other. It is very different from how I grew up. Story 158. Why should I tie myself to one person for the rest of my life? Will that person work every day to make the relationship last? Can I depend on them for everything, and will they depend on me? Will my heart be broken? Story 159. Honestly, money. We need to buy a car first. Guy and I don't mind waiting as we build our savings and our life together. Story 160. If you are in a good and healthy relationship, marriage changes nothing but allows the government to dictate your lives further. Story 161. Learn something from this comment section on the Ask Indian Men subreddit. Story 162. Because I already am, and it is illegal to do it a second time in my country without divorcing first. Story 163. I do not want a relationship or to get married. I am happy single with my dog. Story 164. I've been married 33 years. Both of my children were married before age 30. I guess they saw marriage as an advantage. However, my husband and I would say we would never get remarried. You sacrifice a lot for the family. Generation X. Story 165. I haven't met anyone I want to spend that kind of time with, and the same goes for the rest of the world. Story 166. There are quicker and better ways to ruin my life if I really wanted to. I'm sorry you're feeling this way. Are you thinking about hurting yourself or in immediate danger? If so, please call your local emergency number now. If you are in the United States, call or text 988. If you are in the United Kingdom or Ireland, call Samaritans at 116 123. If you are elsewhere, please contact your local emergency services or a crisis hotline. If you want to talk, I'm here to listen. Are you safe right now? Story 167. From the point of view of an 82-year-old man, people should only marry if both partners want children. Children are a full-time, round-the-clock responsibility for both men and women. If you do not want that responsibility, do not marry. Story 168. We cannot afford to live together, let alone have our own place or a car. Story 169. I tried it once. I will never do it again. We have been happily married for 18 years. Story 170. Why would I? The statistics are against me. 50% of marriages end in divorce. I am not willing to deal with someone trying to take my house, and my life would become extremely stressful. The happiest people are married men and single women. Story 171. Finances and the possibility of divorce rape from someone you once held dear. Story 172. I would do it for tax purposes. Otherwise, it is stupid. Story 173. I don't have money to feed myself. How can I feed her? Story 174. Don't do it. It's really not worth the headaches whether it works or not. Story 175. My partner and I are in a long-distance relationship for now, and we are still young. We can wait and sort things out. I am looking forward to it. Story 176. I am already married. I do not want to get a divorce just to remarry my wife. Story 177. No matter how in love you are, love fades. Everything in life changes. Story 178. At this point in my life, I feel that my wife and the rest of my family would be very unhappy with me if I were to get married. Story 179. Listen, Mom. I'm 52. When my partner and I decide we want paperwork for our relationship, we will let you know. Remember the first marriage? That experience makes me leery of another marriage, not of my current partner. Please stop asking. Story 180. I kind of hate dating. It always feels like a job interview, with both people trying to show off their positive traits while concealing their negatives, which makes most interactions on the first few dates feel fake and sometimes manipulative. Because of that, I never got to the point where marriage was a realistic possibility. I am perfectly happy single, so the question becomes, do I want to spend a lot of my free time for the mere chance of going on a few lousy interviews that could, if I am lucky, lead to a relationship that might be better than being single, which I am already happy with? So far, the answer has been no. Laughing out loud. Story 181. I have been engaged and have also proposed to partners multiple times. I lived with my fiancé, who is now my ex. The relationship had no benefits. I did the cooking, cleaning, laundry, chores, and appointments while working full-time. He worked and mowed the lawn. The emotional labor fell on me. He wanted children and expected me to return to work immediately afterward, and I refused. I have been happily alone and date when I want, though rarely. I do not have to cook or clean up after anyone but myself. I have an adult child from a previous relationship, but the men I have met are not suitable. Every married male friend has asked to have an affair with me, so now I have no male friends. Even single male friends wanted a relationship. I cannot have a platonic male friend, and it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Story 182. I have been with my boyfriend for 4 years. We started dating when we were 16. We are still too young. Both of us live at home and do not have established careers yet. We plan to move out together when our finances are in order and to get married after that, probably when we are about 24 or older. Story 183. My parents were in a loveless marriage. They were only together because they were legally married. I want my partner and me to be together because we want to be, not because we have to. 13 years and going strong. Story 184. Money, homophobic parents, and the job market for wherever we would move. Story 185. I think I may be attracted to men. If you have seen Brokeback Mountain, you know how that ends. I am just not mentally ready for a relationship, let alone marriage. Story 186. I am 19. My siblings are in the military. One became engaged at 21 and another married at 18. I want to wait until I am successful enough to live independently before seeking a serious relationship. Story 187. I was taught you need consent first. Besides, I do not see the point. Story 188. I want to wait until I am financially stable. I do not want to tie someone to my finances and drag them down while I get my affairs in order. Story 189. I am with someone now where there is no pressure to get married. It is very relaxing. An ex of mine, whom I was dying to marry more than 10 years ago, would have been my unraveling. I am glad that never happened. Story 190. I've met the right person, but I have debt and other obligations to take care of before I make that commitment. We're all so young. She is still in school and I am building my career. We need a more solid plan for the next 5 to 10 years at minimum. I'm not sure I still fit into her plans for that period. I intend to spend the rest of my life with her, and she intends the same, but I do not want to hamper her ambitions with my commitments. Story 191. I just haven't met someone who makes marriage feel like a good idea instead of a life gamble. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.